Welcome, friends, to this installment of Relationship Compatibility Astrology, as presented by myself, Altazar, of altazarastrology.com, and the YouTube channel, Altazar Astrology, where you'll find as many as 18 videos offering a variety of perspectives on the approach to astrology that I have garnered over 30 years of experience, which has included largely relationship compatibilities, life purpose, spiritual growth issues, the karma and healing and issues for well-being that astrology reveals for a spiritual path, amongst other perspectives such as Chinese astrology and the political perspectives on the current issues in our country and amongst politicians. At any rate, it has been controversially depicted in the media these days, the civil libel lawsuit that has been presented between the internationally famous couple of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Now, I'm not going to offer a judgment on, whether the lawsuit was and verdict were correct or not. But what I'm offering here is just another example of how astrology is becoming more and more of a tool, even for legal or in divorce or relationship issues, as a kind of forensic perspective on the potential of certain behavior that may be accused of one or another in the relationship. And understanding the karma of individuals from their astrology charts, as we have them here, that may lend towards a certain proclivity of negative behavior in a relationship that could be additional evidence or corroboration of the presentation of testimony regarding the behavior of one or the other litigants. So I'm not going to get into the detailed perspective of why astrology from the ancient Vedic, Chinese, Kabbalah, and metaphysical perspectives offers this kind of insight. You can go to my YouTube channel, Altazar Astrology, and especially focus on the video spiritual astrology to get more of a sensibility of explanation about the basics of astrology. But what I am focusing on here is how we approach relationship compatibility and how we may understand the behavioral dynamics of individuals in a relationship. I would say a good half of the kind of readings I do for my clients are based on single people engaged in prospecting relationships possibilities to see, based on the powerful information indicated by astrology, whether or not they are compatible to some extent with another person. But it's not as much of a judgment on the part of the astrologer to inform the client thumbs up or thumbs down regarding a relationship. It's more about explaining the energetic expression of that other individual, and whether or not that seems to be in attunement with what the client is looking for and their own energetic expression when it comes to home, family, children, lifestyle, recreational and cultural activities, romantic, emotional, and affectional expression, and the way that one may communicate in regards to daily dynamics, schedules, and affairs. All these facets are illuminated in a complex, detailed astrology chart. It's not just based on a person's sun sign. We know that Johnny Depp is a Gemini and Amber Heard is a Taurus. That's each person's chart, their sun sign is one of 72 factors that are indicated by all of these positions and symbols to describe these multidimensional facets of who this person may be and their style of energetic expression. And so fundamentally, what is love? But as M. Scott Peck in his book describes, and others have indicated, that love really is the willingness to evolve and nurture one's own spiritual growth and that of another person or their partner by virtue of acceptance and understanding of who they are and whether or not you can encourage each other's inner experience of love, self-worth, and self-esteem, along with enhancing that of one's partner. So it is beyond just the rudimentary romanticism we see in our culture, which is more associated with mutual recreational compatibility and sexual intensity. So we're going to start here by looking at how we approach describing each individual and who they may be, and especially in regards to their cultural and lifestyle inclinations, as well as affectional expression, romanticism, and orientation for mutual emotional receptivity. And then we'll look at where there could be potential tension in that regard. So now, for the benefit of those who are relatively new to astrology or just simply know their sun sign, an astrology chart is based on the birth date, June 9th, 1963, location of birth, Greensboro, Kentucky, and the most detailed chart or accurate chart also includes the birth time. Many people don't have their birth time. So we can get a good 80% of accuracy based on the birth date and location of birth. So this is what I generally have for celebrities when I do charts. And so what we are looking at here is where all the planets, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, the Chiron is considered a planet, and the Moon, Neptune, etc., were the day, time, and location of this person's birth. So I'm not going to teach an astrology class here, but this is what a chart represents. Each of the planetary positions indicate a certain style of expression, and each planetary position is symbolic of a certain facet of one's expression, such as Mercury being associated with how one may communicate and how they deal with their day-to-day schedule and how they deal with the organization of their intellect, mind, and even professional accumulation of knowledge for their service capacity. So each of these planets represents a facet of this person's expression. Now, in the case of a person's relationship and relationship compatibility, we are primarily looking at a person's sun sign to start with, so that is an important element, but even more importantly are the movement or the position of the planet of the moon. That is the Earth's moon, by the way, and the position of Venus. These are the two planets that represent moon, how one deals with one's emotional expression, their needs, their home, domestic environment, how they relate to their boundaries, the environment, and their ability towards vulnerability and intimacy. Venus representing their value system, their approach to lifestyle, how they may express their affections, how they approach their finances, and what they may be looking for more deeply in the dynamic of a romantic or personal or long-term relationship. The sun sign is actually fundamental to a person's self-actualization. So this is why many people don't accept astrology or consider it, just hit or miss or very generalized. Because your sun sign is what you're here to evolve or grow into, but not necessarily what you express as a personality in your daily lifestyle affairs. Although there may be elements of that filter into your daily personality, expression, communications, relationships, emotions, etc. But those are all represented by a lot of the other planets. And if they're not in synergy with your sun sign, then for good reason, I certainly was a complete skeptic of astrology before I was introduced to the depth and complexity of the symbolism and the 72 factors that go into interpreting the unique dynamics of an individual. So at any rate, we're going to start out by looking at the fact that Amber Heard's born on a Tuesday, and Johnny Depp was born on a Sunday. Now even that has symbolism. People born on a Sunday tend to be demonstrative, celebrative, and expressive leadership and creative personalities. They have charisma, and they have a warmth and often playful kind of character. It's a very broad generalization. It's not necessarily whether people do ultimately express that. But we look at the sun sign in addition to that, at 18 degrees Gemini, and there's 30 degrees per sign, so there's actually 30 interpretations for each sign. There's 30 subtly different types of Geminis. That's why you can't generalize in astrology about a Gemini compared to a Taurus or a Gemini compared to a Leo or whatever. So the 18th degree of Gemini is a degree of one who may have an artistic, creative expression, as well as a natural romanticism that they are inclined to want to cultivate and evolve through a personal relationship, and especially one that they can enhance the depth of intimate communication. So we see as well, when one is a Gemini, that the fundamental self-actualizing calling for a Gemini is to evolve a more harmonious, positive, spiritually tuned approach to the use of their conscious mind, information, and communication in whatever modality that might be. In his case, the arts and film and that, theatrics. Now, next we look at, Amber Heard, born on a Tuesday. And Tuesday is Mars Day, whereas Sunday is the sun. So when a person is born on Mars Day, it implies that they have a certain aggressive energy to them. They are often driven to a deep kind of ambitiousness. They're a proverbial self-starter. They tend to have a rather assertive, commanding, or even demanding type of character, which they can favorably evolve in a way that can demonstrate their uniqueness in modeling or role modeling inspirational directions for personal development. And we see that Amber Heard is a Taurus, and so people who are Taurus are here to evolve their values. They're here to get grounded in life. They're here to understand how to best discern, evolve, and cultivate their skills, talents, and abilities in a way that can enhance the marketing of that to society, which builds their sense of self-worth and hopefully, and accurately expressed, yield wealth and prosperity for them. So Amber Heard is an earth sign, and Johnny Depp is an air sign. So fundamentally, they're not necessarily that compatible in terms of sun signs. Other air signs are more compatible with air signs, or fire and air are complementary elements. Earth signs tend to be more compatible with water signs. Water nurtures earth, and other earth signs, like a Capricorn or a Virgo. So there we see a fundamental lack of connection there. Where they do have a connection, which is interesting, is the fact that their Venus position, the planet of love, planet of values for lifestyle and romantic expression, are almost exactly the same. Amber is at 25 degrees Taurus, and Johnny Depp's is at 26 degrees Taurus, and in fact, his Mercury is at 25 exactly on Amber's Venus. So what does all that mean? We need to interpret the symbolism there. Well, when you have the same, almost exact Venus position as another person, it means that you may really have a heightened romantic attraction to them. You may really share mutual values for lifestyle, values for the evolution of the expression of one's artistic or creative gifts, and values for cultural activities, and the sharing of mutual desire for security, as a Venus and Taurus person may be. And the Venus at this section of Taurus is inclined towards ambitiousness in regards to artistic expression that can yield wealth and prosperity and social stature. So what then might be the problem here, or potential problem? And we have to look at the karma of each of these individuals, or the proclivity of their behavior based on past behavior or habitual subconscious behavior. Or what we are looking at, as I've shared earlier, the three pivotal elements of a relationship are the sun sign, which sun signs are not that enhanced here, earth compared to air, for mutual development of self-actualized identity. But we look at Johnny Depp to start with and see that his Mercury-Venus conjunction in Taurus does imply that he has been a smooth and socially adept and creative communicator karmically. And remember, everything I'm saying about him in this interpretation, I could have said 1 minute after he was born, because that is where we get the birth information, right? And I do many readings for parents and their newborn children to better understand who the child is as a soul and how to better understand cultivating their gifts. At any rate, what I see clearly, which caused or been the fundamental problem of tension in this relationship, is that each of these people have what I've described in other videos on my YouTube channel as the mother wound. So the mother wound is where, due to each person's karma, so no one's a victim from this point of view, but we choose the parents to come through to recreate the lessons that we have. The mother wound is where mother may not have been a very deep or positive or emotionally available role model for the individual to better understand or come in greater attunement with their feelings and their values for making healthy relationship choices by virtue of understanding the meaning of assertiveness skills in setting boundaries regarding one's needs, domestic environment, home, and family. So, in Johnny Depp's chart, we see, we look at the moon to start with. Moon is symbolic in a person's chart of the experience they may have had with their mother. Your sun sign, or your sun, is more symbolic of the experience you may have had with your father. And so, in Johnny Depp's case, he does have a good karma with his father, the Saturn trining his sun sign, and that lends towards him having a lot of past lives of knowing how to ambitiously address presenting his gifts and talents to society and become upwardly mobile. On the other hand, his moon position in Capricorn, and karmically the moon in Capricorn is considered in its detriment or a challenging position. Moon representing how one is in touch with their feelings, emotional issues, their needs, their domestic environment, their health dynamic. Moon in Capricorn is one who may have an overemphasis on their emotional fulfillment being associated with their career, their job, their ambitions, and the acknowledgement and recognition or approbation of the external world, society, and other people. And we're seeking that outside of themselves. And it often implies attracting a partner who may be more, a woman, let's say, who's more geared towards materialistic ambition, career development, or possibly even a gold digger who uses him for social, career, professional advancement. And so it implies that his mother wasn't necessarily a role model for him to better discern his feelings and needs and boundaries in a personal way, or in a way of evolving emotional vulnerability and intimacy. And this is further revealed by the fact that his Mercury-Venus is, and you see these red or deeply orange squares, which are hard karma symbols, angles to the planet. Where do we have it here? Oh, Saturn. Saturn in Aquarius. So we see a multiple level of astrological interpretation here. That he has Venus in the Capricorn segment of Taurus. He has the moon in Capricorn, which represents ambition and externalities and the seeking of fulfillment from the external world's ambitious acknowledgments. But not only that, the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, and he has it adversely aspected to Venus, which implies one who seeks that their values have been karmically overly attached to their career, and in this case, creative, which might be exceptional, but still external and professional, and the values highly associated with social status, ambition, wealth, prosperity, and in relationships, often interpreted as the desire to have a trophy wife, or a woman who enhances his own social, egotistical stature in the world, and not necessarily an awareness in the least of whether he has a sense of emotional rapport, vulnerability, or intimacy for more personal growth or spiritual values, which are the basis for why a soul is really here to be in a relationship. So that's somewhat a fault basis for his choices, as well as the Venus aspect to Uranus here, adverse aspect, which implies that he has been somewhat of a player in prior lifetimes, or someone who has certain deep fears of commitment and vulnerability and desire for depth of the cultivation of intimacy and vulnerability. So that's one point of view. The next is Amber. For those who have arrived late to the video, just a reminder that if you're interested in information about my services, you're welcome to visit my website at www.altazarastrology.com. That's one word, ALTAZARASTROLOGY.com, or my YouTube channel videos at Altazar Space Astrology, where there are 18 videos for your information on multi-dimensions of an approach to astrology. So now we're continuing this perspective on Amber Heard and the fundamentals of her relationships, especially as I've shared going into the mother womb. So first of all, we need to look at the fact that often women who may find themselves in a dysfunctional relationship with a man are or have had some degree of complication or difficulty with their father. And so Amber has both a father wound and a mother wound, which comes from a difficult background. See, I don't have to know anything about a person, a celebrity, a corporate executive, or even just a person who's a regular salesperson for Macy's. The chart is very clear about what their potential is in regards to relationships. And in Amber's case, she has the sun opposite the planet Pluto, which implies that she has, on the one hand, had a kind of abandonment issue and or power struggle with her father at some time in her childhood, which may present a certain proclivity towards fear of abandonment or a clingy, controlling dynamic with a male partner. Now, she also has some very positive karma too. She has the Mars-Neptune trine to her sun sign, which is the side of her that is very creative, artistic, and intuitive, and may very well be attracted to males who are creative, artistic, and intuitive or playful. Question is whether even those planets do anything in terms of compatibility with Johnny Depp, and they do. These planets in Capricorn are favorably aspected to Johnny Depp's Earth planets in Virgo, especially his Mars Uranus. So they can be quite compatible partners in especially professional dynamics. But unfortunately, they both have a mother wound, which is associated with the degree to which they can express their feelings, needs, or aware of their boundaries, or how to engage each other positively and constructively in an intimate, domestic, marital, or living situation. And so in Amber's case, she has the moon in Libra, which is fundamentally, karmically, a better position for the moon than the moon in Capricorn. But unfortunately, she has that moon highly adversely aspected karmically. So as much as Johnny Depp did have a certain abandonment dynamic in regards to his mother, or she was a purposive mother who may not have been very demonstrative emotionally, but at least a good provider. That's his moon trine Pluto. But on the other hand, Amber has the moon square this Mars Neptune opposite Mercury, and the Mercury is squaring the Mars Neptune. That is a very hard and complicated karma, and associated with one who has not only had somewhat of an abandonment dynamic with their mother, and we should point out as well, the Venus position is often learned from one's mother, and she has the Venus in, like Johnny Depp, the Capricorn segment of Taurus, which implies an inclination to seek out a relationship that also contributes to her ambition, her upward mobility, her status, and even financial gain and evolution in society. And as well, she has the Venus adversely aspected to Uranus, not unlike Johnny Depp, which shows a proclivity or a karma of instability, uncertainty in regards to relationship, fear and vulnerability, fear for intimacy and vulnerability, and more of an inclination towards romanticism that burns out and then seeks serial monogamy or other relationships that are equally exciting but don't necessarily involve greater intimacy or vulnerability. But we come back to the significant point of the libel suit here, in which Johnny Depp claimed in court that he was libeled by Amber Heard in regards to her op-ed article in the New York Times claiming that she didn't name him specifically, but claimed that she was a survivor of abuse, most people would imply, from Johnny Depp, and that she could become kind of a spokesperson for the Me Too movement, and this adversely affected Johnny Depp's career, and you see their mutual career inclination to be in a relationship to start with. And that implication that Johnny Depp was an abusive husband or partner adversely affected Johnny Depp's career and his ability to gain his continued theatrical and movie contracts and involving millions of dollars. So at any rate, forensic, astrology looks at, well, who really implies or what in their chart inclines them towards abuse. Now, I've studied the charts of serial killers, thieves, murderers, domestic abusers, and there's often a clear indication in the planetary configurations of that person's proclivity to violence or abuse, or attracting it due to a karma that needs to be healed regarding it. Well, in my 30 plus years of experience, a person who has the moon, just starting with the moon square Mars and Neptune, would imply someone who is highly emotionally reactive to another person's behavior, to the extent of deep fear of abandonment or even potential violence. That aspect implies that this person may have incarnated in a family relationship and vis-a-vis the mother, who may have been an alcoholic, a drug abuser, had low self-esteem, was not a positive role model for how to care for themselves, set boundaries, being emotionally available to nurture and encourage their child's well-being in regards to their feelings and or family and domestic environment. But astrology is not about blaming parents, because everything I'm saying here I could say 1 minute after someone's born, just interpreting symbols in the chart here, which represent a person's spiritual report card through many lifetimes or recent lifetimes. And so this aspect does imply the Mars, Neptune, square the moon, one who may have very poor skills in regards to self-care and their ability to express vulnerability, and can be exceedingly self-absorbed and demanding, if not driven career-wise, Mars, Neptune, and Capricorn, to exploit and take advantage of their partner for egoic upliftment. But it gets a little worse here, because this is a T-square to Mercury and to the moon, to the Mars, Neptune. So Mercury is the planet symbolic of how a person communicates, how they use their intellectual mind, how they have garnered information and knowledge and are able to share that with others in the world. A person who has Mercury in Aries is someone who has a quick and rapid fire mentality and a communicative ability. Favorably, can be someone who is inspirational as a communicator and someone who can be highly and aggressively assertive. Now, Johnny Depp's Mercury is in Taurus in the latter degrees there. That implies he's a much slower. Someone who has to memorize lines and really rehearse them. He's much more contemplative, much more inclined to evaluate and discern and have a deep reserve before he engages what he wants to assert. Where Amber, Aries is a sign of the warrior, aggression, and Mercury and Aries are those who can tend to be rapid fire critics, or even they make good lawyers in certain respects due to their rapid fire aggressive assertiveness. But when a person has Mercury square Mars and Neptune, well, let's start with Mars. Mars is the ruler of Aries. It implies that they can be extraordinarily rapid fire, defensive, and or aggressive. And if offended or engaged in some kind of feeling of abandonment or misunderstanding, literally rip somebody's head off with their verbosity and their possible, with Neptune, extreme perceptivity of another person's vulnerabilities. So that's just the interpretation. And with Mercury opposite the moon being associated with how one takes care of one's personal emotional needs, how one approaches their home, family, and domestic environment. And it implies that due to the experience of poor role modeling, dysfunctionality, potential addictive behaviors, and even abusive dynamics in her childhood, vis-a-vis potential relatives and or mother or people in her environment, it implies she may have even been sexually abused, not necessarily by her parents, but even a relative, that she is highly reactive in domestic and emotional situations, that may be extraordinarily exaggerated or inflated, and when triggered by difficulty or misunderstanding or fear of abandonment from a partner, she may again be highly explosive and verbally abusive to diminish her partner, and it even implies a certain potential character disorder or narcissism. So in the context of, if you were to approach me and give me these two charts, not naming who they were, and saying that these two went to court for a liability defamation lawsuit, and you asked me, just from a Las Vegas odds point of view, who would I bet would win the case because the charts show one or the other might be having the real severe issues. Well, I'd say Johnny Depp would win the case due to what I just described as the extreme dysfunctionality and karmic personal growth healing that Amber Heard has a calling to engage in this lifetime. So, this concludes my perspective on the Heard and Depp libel defamation lawsuit. And I wish you well in your relationships. And if you are interested in having a free introductory astrology reading from me, you are welcome to call me at 303-727-0023 to arrange an appointment for that, or email me at astrozar, ASTROCZAR, at yahoo.com.